Okay, this demo is going to talk about taking the dragster body you drew yesterday and adding the holes for the wheel and adding the holes for the straw from end to end for the dragster body. We're also going to add on to that the sketch for the side profile of your dragster. So when you open up Inventor, you will most likely see your dragster body down here under Recent Documents. If you don't find it under Recent Documents, go up here to the Open File, and then in here you're probably going to be looking inside your network drive, which should have your name and the little green icon. When you open that up, you might want to first click on Date Modified, and it should come to the top. Okay, so you'll select your dragster body, click Open. If this message pops up, please click OK. Here's the dragster body that you created yesterday. We need to add a hole from the end down through the body, and we need to add 2 holes from the side for the axles. We're going to start with a hole on the end. To do that, we're going to go here to the right. Now we have a solid model we created yesterday, and we're going to add a sketch to that solid model. The first step is to click here on the back of our model. That creates a new surface on the back. If we rotate this, you'll notice those lines of our our graphing lines, our axes, are only attached to that back end surface. To create a hole, we're going to start with the circle. I'm going to place that circle here and draw it. Now, we need to align this circle and give it a diameter. First thing we'll do is the diameter. Selecting our dimension tool, we'll click on the outside of the circle. We'll move this dimension out here to the right, and then we'll edit it to 0.25 inches. It's a 1/4 inch. It's the size of the straw that we'll use for the car. The next step is that we're going to dimension this first to the left-hand side of the car, here. Now, this was drawn at 1 inch wide, and we want this to show up in the center. So for this dimension, we're going to be entering 1/2 inch, or 0.5. Okay, that centers that up. Now, from the bottom, we're also going to be entering 1/2 inch, and that'll give us a good distance from the floor for that straw. So clicking on the bottom line, and then clicking on that white center point will give us this dimension, and that will also be 0.5 inches. Alright, that locates our circle, gives it a diameter. We're now ready to finish that sketch. Returning to our home view, or actually just this corner view, what we're going to do is we're going to use the extrude tool, but this time we're going to use it to cut. I'm going to select extrude, select that circle. You notice it's coming towards us. We're going to switch that to this option here, which is cut. Another thing we need to do is change it from distance to all, and we're just going to cut everything. And once we see this preview here, this preview of the hole that we're about to make, and click OK. Alright, rotate that. You can see through. We've got our hole cut all the way through. Now we're going to go back to this view, and we're going to be working on this surface. On this surface, we're going to draw 2 holes, one about here, and those are going to form the holes for our axles. First step, create a new sketch. Okay, I'm resuming this video after a short interruption. We're getting ready to make holes in the side of this for axles. So just like we did for the hole in the end, we're going to use the circle tool. We're going to place 2 circles. If you notice, as I move my mouse around, we're going to get kind of previews of lines. Those lines are the top and the bottom of the hole we just created. We want this axle to end up underneath that hole, so we're going to put a little circle here and another one back here. Now, that dotted line is automatically aligning both of these, and that's fine. They're going to be automatically aligned later, so we'll go with it. Okay, first dimension on a circle is its diameter. Dimension. These circles are going to be 1/8 of an inch, and we can type that in as a fraction. 1/8 will give us a 1/8 inch diameter, and we're going to repeat that for this circle. Now you noticed it jumped down to the bottom. I'm not too worried about that. I know here in a second I'm going to change that. Okay, we're going to zoom in on this circle. The first thing we're going to set is the height of this circle from the bottom, and we're going to set this hole for the axle 1/4 inch off of the bottom. To do that, we're going to click our dimension tool. First select the bottom of the car, and then that center point. We're going to bring that over here. And we're going to adjust that to 0.25, or 1/4 of an inch. Now you'll notice this other circle here also needs to be dimensioned. And so once again, we're going to select the bottom line, that center point, and 1/4 of an inch. Okay, from the end, we're going to dimension the distance to the center point of each circle. So just like we did before, we'll use our dimension tool and select that end, and then center point of the circle. We're going to bring that down. This distance can be anywhere between 1/2 an inch and 3/4 of an inch. It might be a good time to look at the drawing of your vehicle and decide how close you want these axles to the end. I'm going to draw mine at both at 0.75 or 3/4 of an inch. You can have those closer, but if your vehicle is designed with a little bit of the front of that foam block cutaway, you may want to scoot that front axle back a little farther instead of making it closer. Okay, so this distance, somewhat up to you. 3/4 of an inch is a good number to go with if it doesn't matter on your drawing. We're going to finish the sketch. I'm going to rotate this to this view. We can see we have a circle here and a circle there, and we're going to extrude both of those. Using the extrude tool, we're going to select that circle and this circle. We're going to click both of those before we do anything in this box. And then we'll go over here and, just like we did before, switch that to a cut. Right now it's cutting 1 inch. We can switch that to all, just to ensure we go all the way through. Click OK. Alright, now we have the basic block with 2 holes for axles and a hole for a straw passing through it. At this point I'm going to hit the save button just to keep my Dragster body file up to date. Okay, the next thing to think about is the profile for what your car will look like from the side. And this is going to be unique to each of you. I'm going to show you a few tools, but ultimately this is the point at which you're going to leave this demo video and kind of work on your own a little bit. To start it, we're going to create a new sketch. So we'll use this Start 2D Sketch button in the corner, click the side of the vehicle. Now that we're looking at the side of the vehicle, we're back on our sketching ribbon. The next step is to draw the shape here. I'm going to go ahead and draw the shape of the truck that I used as an example when we talked about aerodynamics. It has a good mix of lines and rectangles, and I'll use those to demonstrate all those tools. The first thing I'm going to do is we're going to draw a line here, just up a little ways and back, and then I'm going to hit my escape button and then that line tool. That's a fairly blocky shape, but that's going to form the bumper of my vehicle. Now I'm going to switch over to an arc tool. Now I'm going to start by using what's called a 3-point arc. What I'm going to draw is just a little bit of a curve here to start what would be the front of the, I guess, the grill of the truck. Click here, up a little higher, about there, and then just give that a little bit of a curve. Okay, we'll create that, and then coming back this way, we're going to create maybe the top of the truck hood. So it's going to look something just a little bit like that. Okay. Now for the windshield. Now the windshield I'm going to draw as a little bit of a straight line. You could draw it as a curve. Most windshields probably are actually curved. But we're going to mix that together. Now, notice right here that point is orange. Those lines are connected. If you have an issue later on, you may have to use a constraint to force those lines to be connected. Alright, zooming out. Let's switch back to an arc. Sorry, I'm zooming in and out a lot on you here. And we're going to draw across the top of that truck cab. Give it just a little bit of an arc. And then back here, the next bit I'm going to probably do with lines. And we're going to come back here, draw towards the back, create kind of that flat back surface of the truck. And then we'll switch back to an arc tool to create some of these back shapes that would form the back of the truck body. And then here, down to about there, we'll arc that out just a little bit. And then maybe we'll switch back to lines to finish out what would be the back bumper of this truck. Okay, now, that's a combination of lines and arcs. There's some other tools you might experiment with here. I'm not going to show in this demo, but if you have a more complex shape, you might go here to line and use what's called a spline interpolation. It allows you to create a series of smooth connected points. I'll just draw one up here in the air. And you notice every new point I click changes the shape of that line. But you can get a fairly smooth shape all the way through. Alright, I'll just show that to you. Now, one thing we need to think about before we finish this is we want to cut away this part of our design. And we're going to leave this down here alone. So to do that, let me switch back to Align tool. We're going to actually create a region that's larger than the block that we've created to cut away. Making it larger helps to ensure that we get every little bit here and we don't leave a little sliver behind. Okay, now we're going to finish that sketch. Now if we have successfully connected all our lines, and I'm not sure we have, we may need to fix this corner here, but if we have, at this point we should be able to do an extrude cut, similar to that we did for the holes. Our extrude tool, oh good, it's working. The only difference is we're adding here and we want to cut away. There we go. Alright, and that gives us, I guess, what would we call this? Bob's truck, right? This is Farmer Bob's truck. There's a few things we could still do to this. This is just the side view. If we go to the top view, notice it's still fairly rectangular. You might, at this point, go to your top view and maybe make some changes there. But at this point, I think we'll stop this demo and follow up later on with ways you could construct that top view. Don't forget to save, of course. Click on that save button.